You answered already? Yo, dude. What up, man?
Good. You ready for a shit show?
No. I'm ready for Walter the Prism Pilot.
Oh, he's I've been working on him, and that's part of my issue for sure, as you know. So one of my biggest things that I kind of probably am having an issue with right now is I've come up with a build that I really like that works pretty well. But if it doesn't take somebody out probably in the first 8 minutes, the first 8 to 10, it's pretty dead. It's dead. It's dead on arrival.
Okay.
So been working to try to get back to macro because I noticed that definitely is starting to suffer by doing what I'm doing, and that's probably why I'm in Plat 1 and not in Diamond. So the first off, all Zerg players go away. I don't want you to hear my.
Yeah, you want to keep your plans secret?
Yeah. So the biggest issue is, I'm telling you, is I don't have any issues with the Lings. I think that not enough people give respect to the Roaches, but I see it so few that I'm not that worried about it, especially considering I just start getting Immortals or Voids out, and that usually kind of fixes it. But my issue is the Hydra Lurker, and the problem is that they can make that switch so quick, and if I don't scout it, I'm in trouble. As if I haven't gone air, and even if I have gone air, if I don't have enough out there, the mass hydras just take it down, and then they just drop a couple lurkers in my bases, and I'm in real trouble. They target down any cannons, and it just goes downhill in a hurry.
Shit.
And the other one, of course, that I feel like all Protoss bitch about is the mutas.
Yeah.
I mean, those things, especially the way that you handle them, that even people who are attempting to be you in Platinum still just destroy. And unless I have Archons in the right place, it's not going to go well. It's not going to go well at all.
Sure. Yeah. Like Archons are pretty bad counters to mutas. The only
really?
Yeah, the only time Archon is a good unit to fight a muta is if it's aggressive and the mutas are defensive. Then it's fine. But
Okay.
when you're defensive and the mutas are aggressive, Archons are terrible.
Well, there's part of my issue right there. All right, so that problem solved.
Yeah, if you're defending mutas, don't go Archons. Like, the only time you should ever make Archons is, like, if your opponent's going mass mutaling and maybe even Bane. Most Zergs don't add in Banelings against Protoss that often if it's mutaling, because it's less mutas then. So it'll usually just be just pure mutaling. And if that's what it is, and let's say you have just Stalker, the Archons are really good because if you're gonna do a timing to go kill him, because the Archons are really good against Zergling, and then they're not bad against muta. When it comes to when you know the fight's gonna be forced, because Archons force muta to be magic boxed. Because if they're not, then yes, if the mutas clump, the Archons will just one-shot that shit. They'll just be like, bye. Because an Archon hits for, like an Archon can basically, realistically, with weapon upgrades, an Archon can 3-shot a muta. So, yeah.
So that explains a lot. That explains why if I catch it coming in, I tend to crush it. But if it has a second to set up, it's over.
Yeah, well,
it's like, okay, there goes my economy.
And Archon's way too fat. It's too big of a unit to get around your base quickly, because every time you have to go up and down a ramp, which is going to happen to you repeatedly, or go through a doorway, like your gateway doorway, your Archons are going to get like traffic jammed, and they're going to be like 10 Archons or like 8 Archons, and like all bumping into the wall, and like one at a time gets to go through. Meanwhile, all your probes die, and then as you're through, mutas just fly over the cliff and go to the next base, and all your Archons once again do the traffic jam and your door the other way. They're like, all right, let's go back out again. Like, you can just avoid Archons so easy as Zerg.
Okay. And the other thing, I know that Blink Stalker is supposed to be really good against them, but I'm just not as comfortable microing that unit as I probably need to be.
You want to know the best counter to mutas? I can tell you the best counter to mutas right now. And this is what I would tell people to do all the time. And this is what I recommended a lot that you did once you got to like Platinum, which is where Platinum is where I think mutas really start to happen a lot, like in a way that could be somewhat scary. And it's literally just get a shield upgrade for a forge. Go like double forge and get shield upgrades, and you make cannon battery. Just like 2 cannons and a battery on each base. And then
there's one.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
There you go. You go. My bad.
I was gonna say I do have a bad habit too of like that I'll occasionally drop down 2 cybernetics core if I go air.
Don't do
but
that
I don't
ever.
do it until
Ever.
like
Do not
7
ever do
minutes.
that.
I know. I just wanted you to yell at me about it. That way I would like put it in my brain of don't do that. Stop that.
You don't need armor upgrades on your air that fast, and it's just gonna weaken how much air you'll have as quickly because it's gas.
Okay.
Another thing about mutas, I don't recommend you do this yet in Platinum. I would say this is Diamond minimum. Is the best counter of all is Phoenix. If you do a Phoenix-based build, that unit fucking destroys mutas. But the only way Phoenix really become effective, though, like on average, if you just make them in general, is if you can micro them while also macroing. Like you have to use them. You don't just let them sit there defensively. So.
And what I've done with that, anytime I do that, is like okay, playing an unranked game or something like that, and I get somebody that's gold. I'll do that build with Phoenixes because I know that any mistakes I make in the macro, I can usually make up for because when the Phoenixes are out there Overlord hunting and then hitting, sniping a queen or 2 or 3 off the drone line, I know that I'm causing so much chaos in their build that any mistake that I have will be basically buffed out, and I'll be okay. And I guess that's the other thing is like I probably have a bad habit right now of this aggressive build that I absolutely love, but at the same time I'm like, gosh, especially with the tournament thing coming up, it's like, okay, well, that'll work for the first game, but probably not going to work for the second one if you play the same person. And at a certain point there's going to be a ceiling, where it's just like, okay, now you're doing the same build every single time. Congratulations, you might get to low diamond, but that's it because you don't know how to do anything past that.
Sure.
And so that's kind of what I'm trying to get better at.
Yeah.
I will say the one thing that sucks is that some of the replays I have are really old, so I'm wondering almost if it might be better to like go against your Plat 1 or low diamond Zerg just so you can kind of see maybe like if that's easier or if that's better. I don't know.
I can play if you want to.
Yeah.
The biggest thing though about because I know you're a micro guy. You're obsessed with micro builds.
Yeah.
And
I need to stop.
No. It's if you want to. I'm not gonna say that that's the best way you're gonna learn, but the thing about micro, this is the concept about micro you have to understand, and it's that proper micro is not actually controlling the unit the entire time. As weird as that sounds, like proper micro is not going, okay, I'm going to use this unit and I'm going to micro this now. And then you just stare at it. Because what that is over micro. That is just over micro at that point. You don't need to do that. Like you can look at it, but you still have to macro in the process. But the big thing too about your micro is like the old. Let me say it like this, because I'm trying to say it in a way that's not confusing, and I always have to say this little preface to make it not sound confusing. Otherwise, you'd be like, "Wait, what the fuck are you saying?" But the thing about micro with situations that you do actually have to micro the whole time, there's so few of them that actually exist in StarCraft. But everybody who is lower does it for everything. Like you'll micro a Zergling this way, or an Adept this way, or a drone this way, or not drone, but you know what I mean, like a unit, any unit. But like, for instance, like Phoenix versus Muta. That is one of the only ones for both players that I would say needs to be microed the whole time. Because it's very, very, very fragile. And you are literally clicking move command probably like 5 times a second to like make sure your units don't like just concave out and
they don't stop.
Spread. Yeah.
First one's to stop or dead, basically.
Yeah, it's because you're staying in a dead zone of range. The Phoenix, the way the Phoenix are microed is you stay in a dead zone, but you want to still be able to attack the Muta, but you don't want the Muta to attack you, so it's a dead zone for Muta. And then with the Muta side, you're trying to stay out of the dead zone and like actually get into the range of Phoenix being vulnerable. So both players are like spam clicking everything the whole time, and it's like both players have this like dot moving back and forth at each other, and whoever micros it better is going to probably win that. And the Phoenix have the advantage there too, because they just they should win if they're microed properly. But other than things like that, like there's a couple more, but For instance, if you're using a warp prism and you're making charge lots, that is not something you should be looking at 100% of the time. You should look at that for like 1 second out of 15 seconds. I'm serious.
Yeah. And I'll tell you, like, that's kind of what I've started doing more after you critiqued me on that replay is, well, first off, I still have done it once or twice as a bad habit of marking my territory by spraying a zealots right into the army that I'm fighting, because, you know, I have to mark my territory, that's now mine, and they just kill everything before it comes out. Then on top of that, I've noticed that is absolutely crazy, and that's part of the reason I think I've started doing this build, is I actually will start to I noticed that if I actually pick up the guys and don't just, you know, leave them, if I actually give Walter glasses and he picks his guys up and runs away, I can actually max out still. It's like I don't actually lose everything, and then just it's like, okay, can I make more of an economy and throw more at him than he can handle?
Yeah.
It's, you know, like, oh my god, I actually can max out. And that's actually why, like, when I do my 2v2s, my favorite build is carrier, because it's so easy to just, even while engaged, just go back, spam, rebuild, check the bases real quick. It doesn't require babysitting. It's like, it's just such an easy build. I feel like the carrier build, it's just put them here, maybe pull a guy back if they're starting to get microed down, and even if not, you know, just make sure that they have that they have all their little flyers, and that's it. That's really all you have to do. And so I love that A move easy army. But
because another thing about micro, which is something I can't just say a sentence to you and suddenly you understand this. This comes from experience. But if you actually have enough experience through playing through like hundreds of games of micro, and it's like you're using the same units, so you're starting to really understand how they really operate. Good players who actually know how to spend, you know, minimal amount of time microing so that they can also macro and do everything else. They can look at a fight before the fight happens and know if it's going to be good or bad. But if you cannot do that, which I don't expect you to be able to, no one should be able to until you're like, at the very least, like maybe masters.
But ViBE, I'm invincible, and
no, you're not.
So my stuff's not
gonna yeah, right? But like, if you can't look at a fight and go, yeah, this is going to be advantageous for me, or this is going to be a disadvantage, so I should back off now. And instead, if you're just like, I don't know, roll the dice, let's see what happens, you're never going to be able to, like, that is like already, it means you shouldn't be microing. Because, like, for now. Because, like, and like, here's the best way to say this. Like, everyone has to learn somewhere. And the best time to learn how to do that, what looks like it's actually going to be an appropriate fight or not, is when you actually are in Diamond. And I know you like the micro, so I still will give you ideas on that. But if you can't even have enough of an army just flat out because you haven't built enough yet, then you're always going to have disadvantageous fights once you start playing players in Diamond.
And now notice, like, it's like two things. Either one is, if I don't have good scouting and I start to engage and it looks like, oh, I caught half of their army, so then I'll drop back, not realizing, like, oh, that was just a space. And then it closes and I look and I've just lost everything. I make that mistake sometimes. Or the mistake of, well, not a mistake, actually. Like, if I have vision out there and I've scouted well and I know where their armies are, flat out, like, as far as tactic goes, how to engage, I have no. But that 100% comes down to scouting. And I do great scouting 1 out of every 10 games. And so I know that it's a habit that the worst part is, like, half the stuff I know that when I'm doing wrong, I'm not fixing it, I just keep repeating it. And then I watch replays and it's like, hey, dumb, like, what? I mean, replays I've watched and I've been like, how the hell did I lose this? And I watch it and I go like, oh god, this is horrible. No, like the spamming the freaking zealots right into the faces of the immortals. Like, what the hell was that? Like, it was just blind stupidity, and that's why I probably am still plat.
No, it's okay, dude. If you throw units,
mistakes.
If you throw units away, that's actually okay. It's really probably just because you just don't have enough units. That's what it is.
Yeah.
Gotta hit the fucking macro button. All right, man. I guess we'll get into this so I can see how you play, and I'll give you like a like you said, like a platinum level Zerg.
Okay.
I won't throw. Yeah, I'll try to make it around platinum for you.
All right.
And yeah, well, I'll see what your plan is. You can give me your best build, the one you want to improve. This is probably the best way I can help you, because I know, like, I can't really just go do what I do, because you're gonna be like, I like to fucking micro.
Yeah.
So I'll try and help you the best I can for you.
And you'll see, like, I'm sure you're gonna see, like, one of the hardest parts.
Sounds like your micro. Sorry to interrupt you, but it sounds like your microphone keeps farting, because you're like, one of the hardest parts. And then you just stop talking for like 6 seconds, and I'm like, I can't really hear what you're saying.
Shit. Sorry, man. I got a new mic. So yeah, that's taking thirds and fourth with the run bys. That's, as you'll probably see in a second. Okay. So,
all right, man.
Hey, yeah. if you want to harass me and make fun of me via this way, I can play and talk at the same time. I have wicked ADD. Okay. So,
all right, dude. Are you ready to do this?
Let's do this.
All right. Good luck, man.
And I'm gonna promise you, you will see Walter.
Oh, that's fine. I don't mind. I'm just gonna do macro, and we'll see how well your build can perform here.
Oh God.
Because I am literally gonna do beta GM platinum style. I'm just gonna macro you, and then I'm not gonna do like I'm literally gonna micro nothing. If you attack, I'm gonna A move that area. I'm going to micro 0 units, but I am gonna macro. And then I'll do also in platinum as well. I feel like you should have a little bit of scouting information. So I'm gonna scout you a bit too and see how your build order goes to a degree. But yeah, it's just literally just gonna be macro, 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 macro. And you're plat 1, correct?
Yes,
okay.
Plat 1.
Okay, just making sure.
Yeah, made that recently, which was a big accomplishment, and now I don't want to lose it. So that's why I'm like, you know what I should do? I should get a coaching lesson.
Let's do it, man.
Well, yeah.
You're very close to diamond, so it's not that bad that you're trying to start to micro now. You should be able, like, the thing is though, is you should be able to just like breeze your way into diamond if your macro's on point. But you're gonna struggle either way with learning how to micro in the beginning whenever you do start really doing it. But yeah, it's. I definitely don't want you to overcommit to your micro and undercommit to your macro, and we'll talk about how you can improve this. Like these will be things we'll talk about when the game's over, like how to be efficient with what you're trying to do.
Gotcha.
Yo, Duplicit, thank you very much for the fucking 48-month sub, man. God damn, that's a lot of
rush from the looks of it.
Shit. Hell yeah. That is correct.
And the other thing I've gotten really kind of little gutsy at is this.
You better not steal my gas. I mean, if you do, by all means you can. But if you fucking steal that gas, I'm gonna be like, oh god, it's beginning already.
No. I've stopped. I generally save stealing gas for Protoss.
Yeah,
my Protoss win rate is freaking ridiculous.
Yeah, if you steal gas against Protoss, it's pretty crazy. Also, I know right now you're having a streamer moment where you're talking to your wife and to me right now. So
yeah,
you're like, fuck,
I told you,
vibe, Jesus.
No, the shit that you do is impressive to be able to talk and do it at the same time. Where the hell is your gas? All right. Oh, you sneaky bastard. All right. Wait, hold on. Wait a minute. Oh, that was. Yeah, well, that's going to be a little late. Oh. Alright. Ah, damn it. I didn't see the other gas.
Oh, shit! Sorry, right now, honestly, the gas, like, I don't want to talk to you too much during the game because I'll fuck you up a lot more, but the gas right now isn't the biggest concern of you. It should be the gas is a little bit of a concern initially, but it really should also be my third base. I'll tell you these things after the game so I don't distract you too much.
No, you're good, man.
But yeah, because I want you to give me the best game you can possibly give me, so I can help you the most.
I'm I think, used to this too from playing the 2v2s, and I'm usually on the phone with my friend at that time.
Yeah. Okay, well, I'll just say third base is a big indicator, and what my initial unit is as well is a big indicator. Or my initial queen usage. Like if I make a creep tumor or an inject. If I 2-base and double inject, that is a tech build. And if you see a layer as well, flat out, that is a tech build.
Okay.
Nobody's ever going to make a creep tumor and then also all in. That was, what the fuck did I just do? Oh my god. That was a horrible placed tumor.
Okay. I will say one thing I've started seeing people do that is annoying as hell is the that overlord scout.
At like 4 minutes.
Yeah,
Yep.
it's a nightmare because it kind of gives some of my build away.
Definitely. Oh yeah.
Ah, run away!
Oh. Kill my creep tumor. It's rude.
Yes, it is.
Okay, so I am just macroing my balls off over here. And I can see you have a nice thingy setup going on. You have a nice robo, all that stuff. Good shit. You got a lot of stuff. You got a lot of buildings. But do you have enough? Is the question. Is it acceptable macro-wise? Okay, so you have a prism. I'm not even going to pull my drones. I'm just going to A-move you and make drones. These are those moments where fanciness might fuck you, but let's find out later.
I saved them!
No. That's not the point. That's not the point. It's not about saving those adepts.
I know what the point is.
Yep.
I don't want to say. I might be in real trouble. I know.
You're like, I killed 4 drones, and it's like, you're down by 14.
I won the game.
Yeah, man. I mean, I will say what you're doing could be annoying to a Platinum player, but if a Platinum player realizes I'm just going to macro, they shouldn't even give a shit about what you're doing. Like, the better you micro this, though, it will get out of hand if you're really, really active about microing that. But I'm going to give you a quota right now. If 7 minutes has gone by, and you've gone Adepts, and you've only killed 4 drones or 5 drones, it's not enough. If you're gonna kill drones, you need to kill, like, up to this point, like, a lot more.
Okay. Oh, that was dumb.
So if you mouse over your workers really fast, you don't have to tell me how many you have, but I have 90. Just throwing it out there, because this is that moment where you're gonna have to wonder if this is worth it.
I got 51. Yeah, it's not great.
Okay, you went DTs. So now that you went DTs, if I was playing against you in Plat, I should just be like, oh, DTs, let's make static D.
Come on.
And we can make new shit.
Oh, you dummy.
Okay.
I miss keybind.
You're all good? It's all G? Okay, now I'm going to scout the sides of the map, and I'm going to see where you expanded to, and then I'm about to attack you. So just so you know, I'm almost maxed out. I'm very close to maxing right now. So if you don't have any type of way to control Zerg right now, like AoE-wise or something, you're going to probably have a big problem right now.
Yep.
And you like this DT run by stuff. If a Zerg just makes static D at this point, it's again these are things that are just gonna make your life
over.
hell. Yeah. Okay. So now I see your expansion. It's bottom right. I'm now gonna go A move you.
Swarm forces under attack.
Okay. So I just A moved the mini map. And then now, the whole time while I'm A moving, I am spreading creep to see further. Like, I see your prism in the right side of the map with that overlord. But I'm not, if you did use it, I'm not even reacting to it. I'm not telling you to use it if you don't want to, but, because it's probably, if you're going to die, you're going to die. But, yeah. You can use it if you want to, you don't have to. But it's just that moment where it's rough. The more micro fancy moves you try to do right now, the harder this game's going to feel.
Yep. Yeah, and that screwed up my transition for sure. Alright, that's not good. Best bet, slow that down.
Swarm forces under
attack. This is pretty good example of basically
what your average game looks like.
Yeah, because it's, well, like against Zerg, and like it's because it's just like the simple stuff. Like, yeah, so it's not a good macro game, and I focus too much. You're right.
I like it's like, honestly, the analogy I like to give people, it's pretty true, because it's like you telling me I just learned how to juggle a couple days ago, and I don't want to do tennis balls. I don't want to do anything like that. I want to go straight to chainsaws. I want to go perform in front of people right away, and then the night's over and you come back and you don't have hands anymore, and you're like, yeah, cut them off. You're right. I was like, I know. You haven't developed enough fucking skill to handle this yet. You have to develop.
Yeah, I'm not gonna be able to stop that. I can't stop that.
Okay.
So, I mean, you can kind of see it. It's usually like try to contain a little bit with the adepts. You know, adept DT drops to try to kind of take out econ, and then a move to carriers, which just is. That was so slow, and I was so low on gas.
Yeah, I mean, I'll look at your build and I'll try to help you figure out how to like make it maybe more efficient. But I'm just throwing it out there. If your builds are focused around pressure, they don't really net you gains unless you do what I would say is acceptable amounts of pressure. And if I am just over here making, like, we're talking 6 to 8 roaches and going drones, and then you are trying to fly a prism around with an adept in it to kill my drones, you have to keep, what you have to do to make that worth it is you actually have to take either a probe lead or you have to maintain equal numbers, because you're going for units that are weak. In terms of, like, if I were to have an equal amount of units to you, you would die. Because you have harass units, you do not have power units. Like, adepts and a prism are not going to stop a roach push. They're not going to stop that.
And I've had that happen before, where honestly I've wrecked the person's economy. I've watched the replay. I had them down to like 12 drones, but their reaction in the bank that they had, they built so many roaches and hydras that they just were like they were at an all-in moment. They pushed on me, and it's like, oh shit.
And what did you
That's right, you can attack me.
What did you do to, like, if you can remember, just tell me your composition. Like, what did you try to make?
In the background, I made like probably 3 or 4 immortals, and I also have a tendency to overcommit on stalkers, which do okay against roaches, but honestly, I give the edge to roaches. I feel like, and also when somebody's in an all-in moment and I'm still trying to macro do the main fight, and then at the same time micro so I can keep their drone count down low so they can't recover if I win the fight. It's they're just microing and just targeting down the immortals, going through the stalkers, and it's just like, oh geez. And then because if I do decide to go heavy adept like I kind of did here, I go for the glaive adepts, and then it's like, well, then I don't have charge lots to basically be my meat shield to keep the hydras and roaches away.
Yeah, the thing
and
about
it just runs over me.
No, totally, it should run over you. If you're going, because the thing is if you're going for harass and your opponent's going for a push, they're going to be developing an army a lot longer than you are. So you have to have things in your army that can deal with the time difference of investment. And if you don't have one of two things, which is either AoE or control, you're going to die every single time. So immortals are good. Immortals are great. But immortals are not going to win the fight if you have like 3 of them and he has 25 roaches and 15 hydras pushing you. Like, those 3 immortals are just going to get focused down and die. And you're going to be like, well, that sucks. But instead, if you have, like, let's say if you go immortals and you have some sentries with it, and again, you have to play like this if you play harass styles, which is why I don't like, you're making the game so fucking hard. I have to reiterate that.
I know.
This is not like ideal for fucking platinum. If you have like sentries to fall back on, we're talking like 5 sentries, not even like 20 sentries. Like, you don't have to go mass sentries. We're talking like 5, 4, 5, something like that. And then the Zerg pushes you with an all-in, and you go, well, I've wrecked his economy. Like, his economy is fucking gone. So if I defend 1 attack, game's over, I win. Because he is now all in. Like, he does not have money anymore. All you got to do is, as he tries to break into your base, you dice his army up repeatedly. You go, all right, I'll let like 1/4 of it in. My 3 immortals I have as well are going to just pound the shit out of the front line that goes in, and the rest of his army is just stuck there going, well, we're waiting for the force fields to go away, then we'll take our turn to go in now, because we're also still all in. We can't just go home. And then, the force fields end. You reapply them again when you let another chunk of his army through. And you do this repeatedly, and you just, you control him. Or, if you don't want to go for control aspects, and Sentry is amazing for control, what you can do instead is you can make, like, stalkers behind your adepts, and then you could make like a disruptor or 2 or something like that if he was going pure roaches with some hydra. And then suddenly you get like 1 shot and you just fucking own his army. Are we gonna say?
Yeah, I was gonna say sentries is something that I've started to play with more and more, because just like what you said, like in all your BGM, you the force fields and everything. The mistake I have made is forgetting that Archons just go right through them. Yep. And that's been an oopsie. But yeah, I absolutely love the force fields, and it's kind of like it's helped. But yeah, and I'll tell you, so my Zerg win ratio, if they go, it is like around 40%. My Terran is about 60, drops down probably to 50 if they go bio, because again, very similar, I feel like, almost to the Hydras with that stim ability. It's just that and the lurkers, or substitute tanks, and I have a tendency to leave my disruptors out to dry out in the fucking open, and then they take that shot, they stim in or they target down, and it's like, oh shit. And so then I go, then I get tilted, like as they're closing in on my natural, and I do the one thing you've yelled at everyone not to do: do not multi-fire. Use it to zone them out. I just go, assault rifle, fire.
Yeah.
one of these will hit, and it's like, but it doesn't matter when they have another freaking onslaught coming. It's like, congrats, now for wave 2.
Yeah. Yeah, I can picture it. You just send all of them out at once, and you like blow up 1 chunk, and there's a lot of overlap there and stuff like that, or like you miss all of them if he like backs up.
Now, if I do get in somebody's head, like, unfortunately, like I there's no way in hell I'm gonna be able to do it to you, but like, so like the lower plats or gold people, if I can get in their head and make them start to worry and they start playing defensive, it's game over. Like, I know that I'm gonna win that. I just go to mass carrier and just.
I will say, your playstyle beats players who get paranoid. Yeah. Like in lower levels, players who play paranoid will always lose, because they play so fucking slow. Like, they don't expand. They just sit there, and it's like, well, my main base is running out, and I only have 250 minerals in the bank, and my patches are also getting low at the moment. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to throw down a second Robo and a Stargate. Fuck it. Because I feel like I might need that. And you're like, okay.
You took me from gold 3 to this because I started watching your B2GM, and all of a sudden you're throwing down bases, and I'm like, well, wait, you don't have an army to defend it, or you're not building any defenses there, and you're just like, just cancel it. If they come to attack it, cancel it, rebuild it.
Yeah.
And that alone was life changing. Of just like, oh, just build it, and take the risk, because most of the time they're not going to be there. Don't think that they're there. Think that they're not. And if they're there, deal with that.
Well, a fact of life as well. This is a fact, and I'll tell you this right now, and I don't expect you to believe it. Nobody believes this for some reason, but you can do whatever you want that looks greedy versus someone who doesn't play efficient. And again, nobody in Platinum or below plays efficient. Nobody does.
Yeah.
Nobody. Like, that's the exact reason why, like, there was maybe like a week ago. I like to use this as an example because it was very recent. There was a dude who played me in a 1v1, and he opened up with 3 gateways before even making a core. And they were not proxied. They were at his base. I saw it with an Overlord because I was Zerg in the game. And I expanded, and I just made drones. And people are like, you're going to die. Like, what are you doing? You're going to die. You're going to die. Like, why are you doing that? And you know what happened? He showed up after I was fully saturated, and I defended it. No problem. And it happens every time like that. Every single time. Because nobody plays efficient.
I freak out the moment I see Zerg on 4 bases. Because usually I'm starting to take my third, and if they're on 4... honestly, it's like I probably could just literally stare at the screen for 20 seconds and do just as much damage as I probably do to myself, trying to like move around and figure out what I'm going to do now and how I'm going to put pressure on that base, because oh my god, it's going to be a 4 base Zerg and I'm just taking 3.
Yeah.
And it's the silly things like that it's just like, when we watch you play and it's like you make it look so easy because you don't panic. And no. If there's a big red button next to me, trust me, I'm hitting that thing more than I should, and every time after I'm like, why did you do that?
Just gotta macro it up, dude. You just have that. You gotta have that epiphany of like, holy fuck, the macro is so good, and if I just do it, I'm safe from everything. All right, so I mean, we're gonna just check your build out, and I'll see how the order of how you do things. And yeah, I'll give you some ideas on how to improve what you're doing. Your goal is, because your goal is apparently Adept Harass into Dark Templar, into then you have a real army to push and kill Zerg with, which is going to eventually be like, you also, I saw carriers, so you're probably going to make ground units hybrid and then eventually go Skytoss.
Exactly, and I kind of almost used the army as you saw. It was way weaker than I should have built 2 more gates than I did, but usually it's probably a 50 supply, maybe 60 supply army with a few immortals in there. Something that's scary enough that with the batteries, that if you come at me with Zerg, that you're going to have, I might be able to reset you at least. And by that point, I should have enough carriers. And if you go Roach, you have no counter.
Yeah. Well, kind of.
I'll be able to push and scare you back.
I'll pause it, because if you say you go Roach, you have no counter. If he goes max Roaches and you start going into this hybrid Skytoss with like delayed Skytoss because you're doing it off of the back of Harass, if you don't really harass a Zerg enough effectively, and the Zerg goes mass Roaches and you have, let's say, 2 carriers trying to kill 45 Roaches, your base, if he's not ridiculously paranoid and goes, oh, carriers, run away with Roaches, I don't want to fight that, and I just want to actually sit here defensively on Roaches now. Some people are like, I don't want to throw my units away, but if he just attacks you and realizes that you don't have enough DPS to stop his Roaches, you'll die again. Yeah, he'll just break your wall and kill your Nexus and all your probes, and your carrier will be like, well, if you guys can just hold out for another 6 minutes, I'll get the job done. Oh wait, the whole base is fucking dead by then.
Now, just so you know, normally I would throw down a Nexus if you had taken your gas, but because you didn't, that's part of the reason I went Cybercore now.
Oh, explain that to me right now.
So I can try to...
Why?
Okay, so you didn't have your gas, so you're not going to have fast lings. So if I can get an Adept over there just a few seconds earlier, it might be able to do a little bit more damage. Now I do screw up and I do check for a third without shading, and that's really what I should have done. I should have checked for the third and then shaded into your base, and so I lose every second that I basically gained as an advantage of getting that Adept out just a hair sooner.
Now, I understand where you're coming from, and it is a aspect of StarCraft 2 that exists, and it's, you know, it is a playstyle, and you are a polar opposite to me, because you are putting yourself in a situation where you put yourself in situations where the way I see it is you're putting yourself behind, but the way to get ahead is if you deal damage to your opponent, but you are behind.
It's a gamble. I know when I do this, it's for sure a gamble. I'm gambling, and I know that you're the blue chip stock that's just going to keep going up year after year. I'm the one that could hit the bubble burst, and just you can lose every.
Do you ever hit it though? Do you ever actually hit it?
I do. I do, and that's like my if I can get up to 4 base.
Your mic just took diarrhea again. I couldn't hear what you said. Sorry.
Oh, sorry. Sorry. If I get to 4 bases, it's probably game over, because at that point I've usually done enough damage and I'm starting to transition into carriers.
The main one I'm asking you is your first adept. Like the reason why I'm asking you this is because you attacked me with 1 adept, and realistically, if you get the damage done, like you burst that bubble with your first adept, I would say, I don't know who the hell you're playing against to allow this to happen, but if your whole timing is based off of 1 adept, I think that's already a fail, because you should be doing a double adept attack if you're going to open with adepts anyways. Is 2.
Most of the time I send 2 to 4 across, but most of them have gas. So if they don't have the gas, I usually go with the 1 in hopes of pushing out.
Never go with 1.
And
never go with 1.
Okay.
So that's exactly what I'm talking about. Like if your goal is to delay your Nexus, to go for a single adept attack because you're hoping the Zerg makes a mistake, that is again putting yourself behind. Where that's not a good way to play StarCraft. Like if you're going to go for aggression, you need to commit to aggression to where if the Zerg doesn't make lings, he gets fucked in the ass basically. Like you just do damage then for real. But if he does make lings, you force them out because now you have to kill lings and back off and shit like that.
That totally makes sense. Yeah. It's kind of interesting hearing you say it. It's like
it's like you're foregoing. Like think about, like, imagine if you were in a fight and you had a weapon and they were like, okay, you can pick something offensive or something defensive, and you're like, I don't want to do the defensive option. I want to do the offensive option. And they're like, okay, what's your weapon of choice? And you're like, a fucking wet noodle. I want a wet noodle as my weapon. I'm gonna slap them with it once or twice and then just run away. And it really won't do anything, but we'll see if they overreact. Like
and I would say you probably nailed my build, which is I'm trying to have both. I'm trying to have the sword and shield, and then I basically have a small sword and a small shield, and just get toasted by the guy who went full broadsword, or the person who went with the giant shield and just gonna walk into me.
Yeah, because like I'll tell you right now, playing against you, all I did to you was I moved my queen to you, and you killed like nothing. I think you killed 1 creep tumor, which was like my 7th creep tumor with the adept, and that was it.
That was your 7th?
Yes.
Oh, that's really disappointing.
It was very, very late on creep tumors. But you killed no drones is the point. You have to kill drones. If you're gonna sacrifice the like, you still expand, which I like, but like I'm looking at your build right now, for instance, and look, this is the exact. I'm gonna talk about the concept here. You go core first, correct? And then look what you do with watch the gateway. Okay, so I'm looking at your camera right now. Your second gate is also extremely fast, by the way. If you're paranoid about me doing a ling run by, this is way too fast for that.
Okay.
And
I wasn't, because
So
shoot.
I'm watching your camera right now, and your gateway is finishing at 2 minutes and 9 seconds. Okay, because it's done in 4 seconds. So at 2:09, it's done, and now I'm gonna watch your camera and see what you look at, and I'm gonna click your gateway now, and I'm gonna watch how long it waits to make a unit. From 2:09, that's when we'll start it. But I'm watching your camera right now. What are you looking at? You're building a pylon. Gateway's done, and you prioritize the gateway, and you're also supply blocked. So that sucks ass.
Yeah.
I mean, you made the second gateway before the pylon, so I imagine I'm not gonna hold this against you. And I'm going to say that this is probably because you were talking to your wife or me, and that might have happened around this time.
It was exactly when my wife came in.
Yeah, and that's exactly why I didn't want to talk to you a lot, because it'll fuck your game up. It fucks me up too, and I'm GM. So, you know, obviously you don't want to build that second gateway before the pylon. But the fact that you supply blocked like that completely nullifies the whole point of your adept attack. Like, your adept attack is now garbage. Because timing is everything. I forgot about that. Yeah, timing is fucking everything. And if you go, all right, okay, I'm going for harassment. Let's do a harass build. And then you're like, it's a stopwatch, and it's like, well, your harass build is 44 seconds late. You're like, well, it's okay. It's like, no, it's not. It's actually going to be substantially weaker now.
Yeah, it's going to get crushed.
Yeah, it needs to be assertive as fuck. It has to be like, if you're doing it, you need to do it. It cannot be late, because it's 44 seconds where you could be killing drones, and you're not killing drones now. Like, and obviously 44 is the number I'm throwing out there, but that's realistic now, because you might not even start the adept the second the pylon's done. We'll see that when it happens, but like, your gateway is done at 209, and an adept should be started right now, and you're not even you haven't even started a pylon yet. Your pylon's going to start in like 2 seconds from now, because the probe has to go there to build it. So this is going to be a very late harass. So now this is already like, you are already behind by a pretty large margin. And then we're going forward a bit. We're speeding. Your adept still has not started yet. And then we're looking at your camera. You're still controlling the probe. Notice how you still haven't started an adept? You still have not made an adept yet. Oh, wait, yes, you did. I'm just kidding. I don't know why my control and your I was looking at your camera, but I wasn't selecting your unit. I don't know. Whatever. But you made one. You have one started. It's 10 seconds ago. So you could have started it at 209, and you started it at 230. So, you know, you're already 21 seconds behind, which is, you know, pretty large, pretty big. But we'll see what you do with this adept when it's done. I want to see how you do it. Go ahead.
It's damn near another adept. If I had chronoed it out, I could have had 2 adepts basically by the time this one shows up.
Yes,
probably.
you could have. Yes, you could have. Your probe is also in my base for a long time, just kind of chilling. Whatever, it dies. I don't care if the probe dies, but if it's just gonna sit there, there's no reason to leave it there.
Got it.
You make one adept, and it finishes right around 3 minutes, and it starts walking across the map. You should walk across the map with it if you're going to open adept, and you know I'm not like 12 pulling you. You make a robo now. You're not building probes. You're already falling really far behind. You're not building probes on either Nexus. And this is going for a while. Okay, you started a probe again. Look at the worker count right now. And I'm going to tell you right now, okay? This is standard Protoss versus Zerg at... We're not talking about GM. We're just talking about what is efficient. Because I think like a player who can macro when nothing is happening is, you know, that doesn't require GM to be able to do that. I would say it requires Diamond to be able to do that. You should not lose to me in worker count until like 35. I should not pass you until 35 or 36. If your build is a 2-base opener. Right around the mid-30s, though, is when that's when Inject surpasses Chrono Boost, and I should start passing you in the mid-30s. But if I pass if I pass you earlier than that, your build is just behind for whatever reason. And we can tell your build's behind for 2 reasons right now. Or really, 3 reasons right now, which is number 1, you were supply blocked. Number 2, you went core first before Nexus. And number 3, you didn't build probes. Like, after you were not supply blocked anymore, you still did not build probes because you were building, like, your robo and your battery and more adepts, and you were making another pylon, you know, and stuff like that. Like, you just didn't build probes for a while. What are you going to say?
Oh, you know what? And the one thing I will say, too, is I also screwed up in that this robo should be a Twilight Council.
Yes, it should be. Agreed.
You know, so then I can get the Dark Shrine and the Robo Bay at the same time, adding on 2 more gates so that I can warp in 4 at a time.
Exactly, because if we look at your robo, I'm glad you said that because it's very true. And if we looked at your robo, it's gonna have uptime of maybe like 30 to 40 seconds if you build like a warp prism and maybe an observer, and then it's just gonna sit there idle for probably like 3 minutes.
Yeah, It's basic. You nailed exactly what's probably about to happen. And I will say it's part of the reason that I went with the adepts inside the prism was because I was like, well, I at least can do that, and that'll do
Do
some
you normally
damage.
not do that?
And
You don't. You normally go DT drop
I
instead.
do.
You do. Okay.
I usually do the DT drop first, and then I move into Glaive Adept and Glaive Adept or Charge Lots, just kind of depending on what the composition is. If there's if it seems like they have a lot of queens, I like to use the Glaive Adepts because I feel like I can drop 4 of them and snipe like 3 or 4 drones and then grab them and then run away again, and just keep doing that over and over again. Whereas if they if they have a lot of queens, I'll try to do the zealots because if I start moving towards air, I'm not using any gas, and at that point, then it's like if I can start using those to snipe queens, it's 4 of them will usually take out a queen is what I have noticed.
This is what I would tell you. If you're gonna do this style to do a 2 base all in, you can go charge lots. If you're not gonna do a 2 base all in, never go charge lots ever.
Okay.
Charge lots are complete shit unless you're going to mass them. The only time charge lots are good early game is if you are doing an all in. After that, charge lots need to be supported by something. And they can also be the offset of your minerals when you start doing something else with your gas. Like if you're going sky toss and you start making charge lots, then I'd be like, yeah, that's fine. And that's going to probably be much later in the game. You're not going to make sky toss. You're not going to do, if you were like, I'm going to do an adept harass and then just go straight fleet beacon sky toss at like 45 supply. I'd be like, what the fuck is this build? Oh my God. But if you're going to go sky toss off like the minimum 3 base saturation and like start getting ready to go for that, like it's a little bit more acceptable. But yeah, I don't mind if you go charge lots then when you start going a sky toss. That makes a lot more sense. But never do a 2 base like 3 charge lots in a prism harassment or something like that and then just like load up and be like, cool, we did some damage. Like don't ever fucking do that. That is the biggest waste of your time.
Okay.
Yeah, like if you're going to do a prism harass, adept is the best choice by far, and you should also not really try to kill queens either. You're missing the beat on why they're good if you just always go for queens. The only time you should ever kill queens with adepts is if you are doing an adept all in.
Yeah, no, the adepts are I basically back of the mineral line, drop them, let them take a couple shots, pick them up, run away. The zealots, I go after the queens. I'm sorry if I said that wrong.
Oh, okay. Well, I might have heard you wrong too. But yeah, no, okay, that's good. Like, again, I just have to preface this one more time and say this because this is like it goes against everything that I believe here. But this build is this build's not even good for a diamond player. Like a diamond player couldn't even handle this build. So you're not going to probably be able to actually handle this build until you're in Masters League.
Okay.
If
that makes sense.
If
I always screw it up.
If you ever get to the point where you feel like you just want to change it up because it's not working anymore, if that ever happens to you, just know that this build probably won't feel good until you're Masters. But yeah, like if you make, so here's the thing too. Let me say it like this: if you're gonna make Dark Templar, if that's your plan, if you're like, I'm going to make 2 adepts early to go harass a Zerg, and then I'm going to load up my prism with 4 adepts, and I'm going to just poke Zerg drones, and every time the queens come over or units come over, I'm going to load up and run away. And then I'm going to follow this up with a DT timing. I actually think you shouldn't get a single Twilight Council upgrade at all, because that is over-investment for a minimal pressure. You do not need to have a glaive upgrade to just do one prism's worth of supply. If you were going to constantly make adepts and do more adepts in that way, I would be like, yeah, getting glaives is okay. That's fine. But what you could do...
Something I was 50-50 on, and I kept going back and forth. Is it smart? Is it not? So thank you. No, that really helps.
Don't do it.
And it makes sense.
Because you're rushing DTs. It makes no... All you're going to do if you do this, if you're like, I'm going to get glaives every time for 4 adepts, it's going to delay your fucking DT timing, and you're going for a DT timing, so it makes no sense to do it first.
One less DT than I'm dropping in, essentially.
Yeah, it also makes it later, and time is massively important for harass builds, because every second you waste that goes by, the Zerg is going to be like, wow, this is easier to defend than it should have been. Wow, this is really easy to defend. Just like right now, your first adept is getting to my base like 30 seconds late, later than it should be there, roughly. which is going to make this adept way less effective because you're not getting here, like, you know, right as my first queen's out. You're getting here when I already have 2 queens in the natural.
Yeah. I'm looking at that right now. Yeah.
And yeah, like it's.
And you're not even bothering with lings either.
I don't give a shit.
Me too.
Shit. And like the thing is if you go into my base and you kill 1 drone and then you run away and you're like, I got 1 drone, and I just go, well, I lost 1 drone, but I made 7, you know, or like 6.
I just wrecked his world.
Then,
no,
I just don't even care.
You did nothing.
Yeah. Like again, it's just like the macro element can be the same every time. Like I don't even care. And the reason why I'm making drones is because I know you expanded. My overlord is literally in your base, or it was, and I saw it. So I'm not worried about anything like pressure. My queens can handle it, but I'm not worried about dying right now. It's not even in the back of my mind at all. So if you go for like a 2 adept attack initially, and you try to pick drones, like you walk into the middle line, you phase somewhere, it could be out of my base entirely or to my main base, and you just go drone. Just try to kill as many drones as you can, because 2 adepts will one-shot a drone. You kill drones, and if you salvage the DT, or the adepts, sorry, then great, you can use them into the prism when you do a follow-up. If the adepts eventually do die, you could always make like 2 more or something, and have like 2 adepts in a prism, and just constantly try to like poke a drone, kill it, kill a drone, kill it. And then you just annoy the Zerg this way. It's a minimal investment. But you're opening Council first, Prism second, and then you're making a Dark Shrine with it. And then finally, when you're like done with your Adepts, you could drop your Adepts in the main base of Zerg. Or what you could do is you could fly down. Let's say, look at my main base, and you fly down below it to like the mineral line. That's like the 4th base for Zerg. And then you drop the Adepts there, you warp in DTs there, and you shade your Adepts into the natural, and you just let them kind of be. You like shade behind the mineral line, and you just let it happen. The Zerg sees that first, and as that happens, as the Adepts shade into my natural mineral line, you fly the prism into my main. Well, you fly your like prism into my main base, the opposite base, and you actually drop DTs in my main. And then you try to kill. I would say, don't try to kill the base, unless it's not even a layer yet. If you see a layer under construction, and there's no spore there, yes, target the base. But if a layer is done, do not target the base. Target drones. And the reason why is because it's really easy for a Zerg to make an Overseer, or he might already have one, like I did. And if you target the base, there's a good chance. If you're playing odds, okay? Odds are higher chance that you're going to do damage to the hatchery, and then you're going to have to run away or lose DTs. You're not actually going to kill the hatchery or the layer if it's already a layer, because he's going to be able to make an Overseer and stop you in the time that it would take that.
Yeah.
Same thing if there's a spore there and it's not a layer but there's a spore, do not kill the hatchery, kill the spore, and then just kill drones. Like, don't waste time. Just fuck over his economy if you can. Only like going for the layer itself is that's greedy. That is like high chance of failure there. But it could work if it's like if your DTs were in my base like right now, which is they never will be, by the way. It's physically impossible to get them at 330. But if you saw that and you were like, oh, a morphing layer, then go for it, because there's a high chance you'll kill it, a very high chance you'll kill it. Like odds are then probably like 80% chance you'll kill it, because the only way you might not kill it is if the second your first swipe hits the layer, suddenly it's done, and you're like, oh shit, well it's done now, and he's gonna immediately make an Overseer. Like, that's a little bit riskier. But even then, you still probably could snipe it and then get out of there right at the last second.
Gotcha.
But yeah, don't ever target the layer if it's already done, because odds are an Overseer could be out and then you just lose DTs. Because this build too, a part about it, you got to keep this in mind, okay? You should never feel like, oh, I'm being sneaky, and yeah, the Zerg is not knowing what I'm doing. You're opening double Adept. You're not opening Stalker, because you're trying to kill drones at first, early on. So the Overlord has 0 pressure to fly around your base. So he's going to know what you're doing. So he's going to make an Overseer. So,
and I will say, that makes a huge difference. I've noticed it makes a huge difference as to how...
How what, sorry? Your mic cut out again.
Oh, sorry about that. Depending on the success of this is hugely successful for the people who basically go do a scout and then go back. But if they see the Adepts and then go to do the full scout like you did, it definitely hinders me. And honestly, like, there's part of me that wonders if I also went for Robo first because I saw you doing that and I tried to be too cute for my own good.
Don't
You
do that
know,
shit. Don't
where
don't
it's
do,
just
do
like,
not meta. Yeah, do not meta. Like don't. You're playing the game like your fucking stats already. Like
I
you're
know,
trying to
it's
play like your
stupid.
stats, and like no one even responds to meta right now in
But
Platinum.
Vibe, I'm a Masters and I just, am not good enough.
Because you know what? Like
So,
people in fucking
yeah.
Plat, they look at your Robo first and they go, he could go fucking DTs. And no, that's not what that means. But I guarantee they could read that because you know what everyone in Plat thinks. He could do
Yeah.
anything. Fuck, there could be
Yeah.
Proxy Tempest. I don't know. Shit, it's happened before.
Yeah.
Anything's possible. Like no one actually pays attention to your tech path. Realistically, like they freak out on everything because it's like he's Protoss. I've seen the tech tree. They could do carriers. They could do mothership. They could do DTs.
Yeah.
They could go disruptors. They could go fucking Colossus. That's Protoss.
Yeah.
They have that. They don't actually go, oh, this is this is what Robo first means. He can't do other things because if he were to do those, they would be later now. So the duration of time of the game that's actually relevant to the next minute or two, this is what he's chosen. Like this is what he's stuck into. This is his tech path. It's not everything. It's very specific, but players don't look at it that way. They really don't. So trying to meta someone who doesn't look at it that way is like it'd be like taking like a baby who's like, I shit my diaper, and you're like, oh my god, the ice cream truck's outside. You hear it? And then the baby just fucking rolls over and like slams its fucking face in the floor and it starts crying. And you're like, okay, it doesn't have any idea what I'm saying. Like this thing doesn't
Did you
even
not understand the ice cream truck?
Yeah, like
the ice cream truck means ice cream.
Yeah, like
I don't have a clue.
trying to distract your opponent by making them think something. Like they're not even going to be aware of what you're doing. They're freaking out and they're trying to not fuck their own build up. Everyone plays like that. So do not meta. Just do your build and
Yeah.
efficiency beats people anyways. Like you're what you're doing is you're completely disregarding efficiency, which is the exact way. That's like your golden ticket to get to Diamond League.
Yeah.
Because
I
going
know.
for a
Yeah.
DT drop, if you're like, I'm gonna go for a DT drop, and you're like, you know what I'm gonna do though? I'm gonna meta my opponent, and I'm gonna have a DT drop that's now a full minute delayed. That's not efficient at all. That fucking sucks. So now your DT drop's gonna
Yeah.
fail anyways.
And the chances of them having basically the ability to see it is also higher because they might blind counter just on the off chance.
Well, just know this. Just know this. It's not even blind counter. If you do something inefficient, you automatically get countered. There's no blind necessary there. Like if you go DTs, but you do it a full minute late, and you give your opponent an extra minute to do just do his build. It's not even to counter yours. It's just doing his. It's going to be at a pace that is further along by the time your harassment shows up, and your harass is going to just get obliterated. You're like, well, okay. Yeah, ViBE told me if there's a layer done, then I probably should not attack it and go for drones. But there's always a layer done because my shit's so fucking late.
Yeah.
So yeah, like look at this one adept. We're still in this process where you have killed no drones so far. I've actually killed your probe. That's the only thing that's happened so far in this game, which was the scout, which is and that's irrelevant. I don't care about that. But look at your adept sitting on the wall. Like this is like you invested into aggression and you're playing defensive. So this makes no sense for something like core first.
Yeah.
And now let's watch your adept for a sec. What does he do? He shades. You cancel it. You try to scout with it. It's fine. Your adept's chilling. We're at 4 minutes, and you still have not killed the drone yet. And your adept shade as well. This is unacceptable as well. For if you're gonna commit to aggression, you're like, I'm you know, the term you used. I'm gonna probably butcher it, but you pop the bubble or whatever. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Like
yeah.
This adept is not accomplishing that. This adept is literally cast one shade, and it has been sitting here in front of my base for about 45 seconds or a minute, and it has just been like between the first time when you first got here to now, it's been here for like a minute, and all it's accomplished is getting poked in the face by a queen a little bit, and you shaded into my base to look at my base for a sec, and you saw I was making a layer, and then that was it, and then you're just standing out here, and seeing how fast my layer is, this automatically would tell you, okay, yeah, there's 100% going to be an over. Like I should not ever target that. Like he's going to already have a suitable reaction to DTs, like probably. So even though I'm going DTs, it's going to be harder now. The only way I'm going to make it work is with misdirection. If maybe I send Adepts into his mineral line at his natural and do literally what I said. Like Adepts in the natural, DTs drop in the main at the exact same time. If the Zerg fixates on the Adepts for a second, it gives you maybe like 5 seconds to do damage with DTs. In 5 seconds, 4 DTs could literally wipe out a mineral line. A whole, like, each DT could swipe like 4 times in that amount of time. And that's like 12 drones, or rather, sorry, that's 16 drones if you have 4 that just die. It's all good. No worries.
Sorry about that. And the other thing is that Adept misses, you're basically going to take your third. I didn't have it close enough.
The Adept is just doing nothing, which is unacceptable. You need to be maximizing that cooldown of the Shade, and you need to constantly try to pressure something. And you need to also maximize shield regen. If you sit here on max shields, and you're not using the fact that the Adept can take damage from a Queen, kill 1 drone, shade out, regen to full, do it again right away. Like the second it's full, go in again. You're not maximizing that either. You're just sitting there and not using what your benefits are. Like obviously you don't want to take damage on the Adept when it's taking real damage, but you want to maximize its regen and you want to maximize the cooldown, and you're not doing either one of those things.
Yeah.
So like focusing on aggression again is you're delaying yourself to delay me, but you're not delaying me. I'm
only delaying myself.
Exactly. You're putting yourself into a hole. You're basically digging a hole for yourself in the hopes that I'm going to fall into it too, and you're just digging yourself into a deeper hole repeatedly. I'm already like 10 drones ahead right now.
Sitting at home.
Yeah, like they're not doing. They have not done anything with this. You have definitely missed the beat on harassing me. I am so far ahead right now for no reason. And then I have
to do.
Or what up?
I kept pushing you there. I do that sometimes to try to get the reaction, kind of like of building the roaches and stuff. But those were just
safety roaches. These are safety roaches. Yeah, I am already saturated on 2 bases. Those are just safety roaches, and I'm already going to saturate my third now with these roaches.
Jesus, you have so many creep tumors already.
I know. It's because I have 1 queen that I made right away that's just been making tumor, and you killed the one right there. And like I said, I said that was like number 7. Right now I have. That was actually number 8. That was a good guess. That was number 8 you killed. Or no, that was number 9. I have an 8th one right there below it. That was number 9 that you killed. So all I'm doing is macroing and just playing mechanics. And look at the worker count right now. This is so unacceptable. When you're at 39 probes, I should be at like 42 drones, 43 drones, not 55.
Yeah. So this is why I'm feeling like Zerg's just getting out of hand. Is basically this right here.
Yeah, it's because you're not punishing Zerg at all. Like you're setting up for like now. Look at this. I have lost 0 drones. You opened up with a double gate opener with Adepts, and you have killed 0 drones by 6 minutes. If you are going to be like, for instance, like stats. If I was playing stats right now and he was doing the same version of a build you are, where he opens up with a depth pressure into a prism pressure, at this point right now I should have already lost like 13 drones or 14 drones already.
Yeah. And I've done that damage before, but it's like, yeah, like you said, it's basically people I'm able to get to panic. And if they don't, I'm in real trouble.
Yeah, and that's not ever going to be a way you're going to improve at StarCraft, because you're not playing for improvement of yourself. You're playing for poor play of your opponent.
Yeah. And so then you're only as good as the person you're playing, which will inevitably keep you in the lower leagues.
Yeah. Because now look at the worker count. I'm already fully saturated on 3 bases, and your third is I would say late as well. You're not doing a timing. You're not doing an all in. You're doing a 4-gate DT drop. Yeah. Your third base should literally be started at like 4:50 to 5, like 4:45 to 5 minutes, but it's going to be closer to 5 minutes because you're making units for it. You're trying to make like Adepts to harass with. So this third base should have been started, or it should be, instead of 36 right now out of 71. This shit should be either finishing right now, or it should be like 65 out of 71 or something like that. Like very close to finishing, or like just about to finish.
Gotcha. So I'm behind like 20-30 seconds. Yeah.
So this is the first time as well you're actually killing drones, and so far you've killed 1. And I'm playing like I feel like a real Platinum player would. If I was really playing you as well for real, I would have, like, if we're talking a GM player, or maybe not a GM player, but like a Masters, maybe even a Diamond player. I saw your prism fly by my Overlord. I literally have it right there. I could have
Yeah.
pulled my roaches back early and physically pushed your prism back, or if my roaches were still out of position slightly, I could have just ran my drones away for a matter of 3 seconds and then ran them right back as my roaches covered it, and you would have killed nothing, because there is no misdirection here. It's just going, hey, I'm a prism, I'm flying by your overlord, don't mind me, I'm gonna kill some drones. But like this game, I even said, I was like, I'm not gonna move my drones, I don't give a shit, I'm just gonna run my roaches to you, and I'm just gonna make drones.
I did kind of think that for a second, because I saw the overlord and I'm like, well, there's no way he doesn't see this coming. And then when the roaches weren't here, I was like, oh, maybe. And you know, it was like one of those, like, there's not a chance he didn't see.
Well,
in the back of my head, I knew it.
Like, it's a Platinum example, and I'm
Yeah.
like, I'm not going to. I literally am not going to try to play as hard as I can here. I'm trying to give you a realistic a game here, but because I remember I did say in the game during the game while we played it, I said I will not move the drones now. I will just make more. So even though I don't move drones, let's see how many you kill and what the end result is here, because this is the culmination of your build so far. What is the end result at this point? You kill, I think 5 drones die. You kill the last one, and then you load in the prism as soon as I get here. So at the end result, the final net result there is 5 drones die at 6 minutes, which puts you at a situation where you're at 39 probes, and I am at 61 drones.
61 probes. Good God.
So that's not enough damage by a lot.
It's a drop in the bucket.
Yeah, at this point in time, this is also further in the game now. At this point in time now, you should not have killed like 13 drones or something like that. You should have killed like probably 18 now, because your build is fully focused on harass, and if you don't do it, then your build just falls behind and you die. So you have to do that, otherwise you're always going to die.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason why this isn't happening is because you had a bunch of adepts early game that have literally been doing what they're doing right now, which is you're standing on the edge of my creep, and you're like, maybe he'll just move a tumor into me. This is another example of your play where you're hoping I make a mistake. Where if I just don't realize you're there, and I make a tumor in your face and you kill it. But if I notice you're there and I just shove you away, it does literally nothing because your adept is not actually doing damage. And now we're going to go... Or go ahead.
You had an overseer.
I did.
I was going to say, and you have an overseer already, too.
Yep.
So any DT drop is now useless.
And the reason why I have an overseer is because you are not doing any... Like, any Zerg who sees a warp prism, and you also are not using... like, you're not going for, like, an immortal timing with it. You're just doing... Like, you're harassing my mineral lines. Anytime a Zerg sees this shit, they should... just automatically make a prism or make an overseer, because this is multi-purpose. You can make a changeling to go scout expansions with it if you want to see where the Protoss is, how greedy the Protoss is being. And then you could also have an overseer, because if you're getting prism pressured by gateway units, there is a good chance this could also turn into DTs. Like, it is very common that a Protoss will follow up adepts with DTs. That is super common. So having an overseer is not expensive either. It's just easy. Just add it into your roaches and call it a day. This is pretty standard for most Zergs, I would say. It should be, at least. Because you also, here's another thing too. This is the final reason why it makes sense. If you have a warp prism, it means you have a robo, which means you could also have an observer. And if I ever spot an observer in my base with an overseer, I can kill it now with queens, instead of just letting you scout me for free all day. So having a detection... That's, again, if you're hoping your opponent does not have an overseer, that is planning for failure. Because you're hoping your opponent sucks at that point, and you're like, well, if he just doesn't know how to play this game, then I'll win. But if your opponent does have an overseer, it should still do damage. You just need to figure out how to do that, which is going to harken back to what we talked about, where you send 2 adepts in, like, my mineral line at the same time as you DT drop me at the other base. Like, at this point now, it could be my 3rd base. You could DT drop, you could adept pressure my 3rd, or DT pressure my 3rd, while vice versa, you know, do the opposite pressure on the opposite side of my base. You just make me look somewhere else while you attack me with the real thing, which is DTs. And that way, even though I have an overseer, I don't just get to look at one attack only and go, oh, there it is, and it's defended.
Yeah, a move over. Yeah. And gosh, I'm looking at this too, and I'm looking at it, and it's just like, yeah, this is 40 seconds behind of where it's supposed to be if I do the DT drop perfectly. I feel like
really
with the
quickly
adept
as well,
pressure in the beginning.
Look at the worker count right now.
It's over. Yeah.
Like this game is already over because I have more workers, I have more drones than your total supply already. And that is a point of your build. Like that should never happen. Because even if you don't kill drones, that should never happen. The only reason why it is happening is because your build is so delayed. It is so far behind. It is inefficient. And it's because you have focused on aggressive maneuvers that were not actually aggressive. And again, at this point now, 7 minutes, you should have probably killed like 25 to 30 drones now. And the fact that your DT drop is still not in my base is super late. DT drop should be hitting my base. If it's efficient, if it's like made properly, the DT drop should be in my base at like 5 minutes. Like like right when you're taking the third base. Your DT drop pairs with a third. So like 5 minute DT drop while you take a third base. And you're already a minute late, which is like giving me just ridiculous amounts of supply to deal with here. To deal with your stuff. And now you're coming back to make DTs.
It is crazy.
And then I see the prism as well with an overlord just sitting over it, and look at my roaches. You sent one adept into my third base, but that was way too early because your prism hasn't even done anything yet. Like your prism is still just chilling near the overlord.
Yeah.
So the prism needs to be like flying into my base as the adepts go into the mineral line. Like it needs to be a little bit more assertive than that because you don't want to lose the adepts entirely and then be like, well, he dealt with that. Now I'm going to do the next attack. It needs to be together. So now the prism comes into my main. My roaches are chilling in front of my third. They're not even reacting yet. And now finally you drop the depths into my main, and now the roaches react and they start coming. And then what do you do after this? You phase it, and then you make DTs right in my face. Like you should be making these DTs out of my base because the prism had a ton of time to chill out there a while ago. It was chilling out there for like a minute after your 5 adept kill, or your 5 drone kill with your adepts. And now you made DTs way after the fact, and you made 2. So now I would ask you, why did you make 4 gates? Like, it makes no sense again. If you're going to do a 2 gateway DT drop, you could hit that shit at like 4:30, not 7:30.
Gas. And again, that goes back to macro. Just
exactly. It's because you're making immortals and stalkers.
Don't look here.
No, it doesn't. I understand that too.
That.
Yeah, no,
I didn't even saturate.
I expect you to make mistakes like that. Because this build is designed for like masters or GM, not fucking plat. You're gonna make like you're not gonna play fucking. Literally, you're not gonna watch stats play a game and be like, I'm stats now. I can now do what he does. Yeah. Like it's not going to happen. Like you're gonna have hiccups like this everywhere all the time. But again, it's not even just about your macro. Again, you understand that concept, and I can keep saying, oh, your macro is always gonna fall apart. These are perfect examples of it. But it's concept. Yep. Why would you go for a DT rush attack? Like your build is supposed to be adept DT, but then it starts getting convoluted as fuck as you go through the game, and suddenly before you do DTs, you start making a bunch of stalkers and mortals, and then you eventually go for DT timing like 2 minutes or almost 3 minutes after the fact when it should have happened. Like what would be the point of rushing DTs then? Because you totally missed the window on having an opportunity there, and you're also the thing is too is you made immortal, stalker, and you even made Stargate. You're going Sky Toss now before your DT pressure has even happened. Like it's basically like you're it'd be like taking a staircase. Okay, here's another analogy for you. It'd be like you're taking a set of stairs, and it's supposed to have a sequence of like step 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. But what you're doing is you're going step 1, and you're like grabbing the railing, and you're just jumping up to like step 7. And then you fall on your ass back down to step 3, and then you walk up to step 4 or 5, and then you jump up again to step 9, and you fall on your ass back again down to step 6. Like it's so out of order repeatedly, and then like because this everything is just falling apart right now in terms of how it goes. So what it should do is you take 2 adepts, you harass me. You could take like maybe a stalker, just 1 stalker, and put it in your doorway after 2 adepts. These adepts, pressure. You now have a Dark Shrine and a Prism coming out. The Prism flies over to my base. You, if your DTs are barely not ready yet, you could drop my mineral line with those adepts. Maybe pressure 1 time with those adepts in my mineral line. Drop it, and then fucking pull it back out of my base. You then make the DTs as soon as the Dark Shrine's done. If you are like, Dark Shrine's done, I'm going to wait 3 minutes to make DTs. That's awful. But if you make DTs
Yeah.
right away when the Dark Shrine's done, you then take those Adepts the second those DTs are done. You send the Adepts somewhere else. You send the DTs somewhere else as well. You use opposite attack bases. You do that one timing. That is it. After that timing is over, you then hopefully do a lot of damage with it. You then go Stalker Immortal, so you don't die. You might also want to make some sentries right now. If you feel like you didn't do enough damage, which this game you definitely did not do enough damage.
No,
but
I did not.
If you feel like you didn't do enough damage, you might need to add some sentries in. But if you did do enough damage, you can kind of skip that because you should feel okay if the Zerg were to counterattack you, and you go into Immortals, Stalkers, and get ready to not die to a counter because the Zerg is likely going to do that if he feels overwhelmed, which is what you're trying to accomplish here. You make an army that is realistically not going to just let you die. Then, once you have a lead, even if you add in a tech switch, you have a lead with, you basically are at a point where, maybe you're 150 supply, where you're not just going to stop, you're still going to make supply out of Gateway Robo, but you go, okay, well, I could actually afford to add in Stargates now, and I won't die. That is not what it is right now. But once you get to there, your 150 supply or so, that's a good number to have to start tech switching again to something else. You could then add in Stargate, and you could add in Fleet Beacon, and what you could do is you could max out the first time without making a carrier. Your first max is no carrier in production. You do a timing against me, you just A-move my base. You try to, do something with it, maybe kill my 4th base or something. And then after that, you then your supply that starts to die a little bit, you make carriers with that. You start to bleed out a little bit of your ground supply and replace with carrier and mothership and stuff like that. And you actually switch into Skytoss when you can realistically do it. But right now, you're doing everything at once, which is making everything fail really hard. Because it's all disorganized, and your money's fucked, and your build is just falling apart horribly. So this is why, again, I have to say this one more time. Sorry. If you can't handle a build right now, and just doing a build, adding an aggression to it is going to make it look like this, where it just makes no fucking sense, and it's just all over the place. And this is why you're going to have games sometimes where you win, and sometimes you have games where you lose, because if you don't realize if you don't really appreciate the concept of hitting the timings, and you're just kind of like, well, some games I go Robo first, and some games I go Council first, and some games I do, Stargate, and then I go for a DT drop.
You're screwed.
Yeah, the games where you win, it's going to be like, well, that was more efficient, but the games where you lose, you're not going to realize it, but it's like, holy fuck, that was so inefficient.
Well, and I'll tell you, like I kind of mentioned at the start, one of the things I'll say is, a week and a half ago, 2 weeks ago, I had this build down pretty down pat, and I was doing really great.
I'm gonna
Since
keep
then,
talking.
My macro's gone to shit.
Keep
go
talking.
Ahead, yeah.
But I'm gonna say I don't believe that. But
it was better than this. I believe that part of it. I didn't screw up and miss the gas. I was taking the 3rd as I was starting the DT drop, and then I was having the Adepts shade in, and now I will say I was not saving the Adepts. They were definitely gone. Because usually that would be where they send the Roaches and Queens, and then the DTs would wipe out the main mineral line, and then I'd get them out of there and then kind of do a little harass. But and with that, then they would be around the same, drone to probe count would be roughly the same, and I'd start doing the tech switch over, and if they pushed me with Roaches, then I'd have a carrier or 2 out, and with some Stalkers. But
see, that right there makes me scared again. That's way too early for carrier.
Yeah, and I feel like that's what's kind of happening. Just like you said, my macro since doing this is getting worse and worse, probably over the last week, because I think I'm rushing it and pushing the gas pedal, and I need to basically go back to the fundamentals, just. Because that's what got me to where I am, and now I'm losing that very quickly, and so I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, no, it's all good. As you just have to realize, you have to really understand the concept. If you're going to be an aggressive player, timings are it's as important as breathing. If you don't do a timing properly, you're just going to die. You just die. And so you have to respect it a lot. And if you have a timing that's going to be late as fuck, well, then you have to ask yourself, the thought should be going through your mind where you go, should I even do it now? Is it probably just going to fail, or should I just do it? it should feel bad if you have a late timing, because it is bad. It's gonna feel like shit when you go to the Zerg's base and he's like, oh well, that was just easily defended, and I just threw my units away. I need to be more assertive about how I do my timings.
It's like the bio tank push that people do. If I spot it and it's delayed by 30 seconds, and I got 2 disruptors out, it's over.
Yeah,
it's such an easy way to stop it.
Yeah. And now check these DTs out. Your adepts and DTs are here, and you've killed up to this point 5 drones. So your adepts dropped in and killed 3 more drones, so now you've killed 8. But that DT drop, those 2 DTs themselves, do you know what they accomplished? They killed like 1 roach.
Yeah.
The adepts actually are the ones who killed drones before the roaches showed up, and then you warped in DTs as I pulled my roaches over here, and your DTs aggroed onto the roaches, and one died, and the other one got out, and neither one of them killed a drone. They just killed like 1 or maybe 2 roaches, and that was it. Like, I've lost 14 units up to this point, and only 8 drones have died, so I've lost a couple of creep tumors, and I've lost a queen. But like now, I know it now for a fact. I know you have DTs because you just showed it to me. And now I'm making static D at every base. Spore spine, spore spine, spore spine, spore spine. And then I'm still 80 drone plus, which is great for the B2GM Zerg style, which is what we're doing here. And then now I do remember you still sent DTs at my base at this point, and they literally walk over and die to a spine.
Yep. And I'm looking at your basically army right now. 5 roaches, 3 hydras, and the shitty part is that's enough to basically push me back with your queens.
Exactly.
Like, I can't push this.
Exactly. And now all I'm doing is I'm exploding.
Everything.
I'm going to explode into its spine now.
Everything. You'd still recover in 2 seconds.
Yeah.
You might lose a base if I'm, by some miracle, the roaches across the map.
Yep. Because it doesn't take very long for me to make a round of units, exactly. So if you show up at my base, I make a round of units, and then I will be able to hold you off. That is the whole point of macro. Because you can match your opponent if they're playing inefficient aggression, which is exactly what you're doing. And then once you have matched them and you're playing macro, it gets to a point when your macro stops in terms of economy generation, and now it goes full economy spending, and then your macro just explodes over your opponent, and now we're no longer going to be relatively similar supplies anymore, where it's like you're at 63 and I'm at 75. Now I'm going to be at like 180 and you're going to be at like 110. Because right now, my macro is now going the exploding phase. Watch how fast my supply explodes right now over yours. So you're at 93. I'm already went up by 10. I was at 133 a second ago. Now I'm at 143. And and you've gone up by 2. You made 2 more probes. God, and now you're at 96, so 97, 105. You went to 107. I just went to 161. So, like, I'm going to... My supply is going to ramp up ridiculously fast now because I am not making workers anymore because I'm already at 80 plus. So you're still at 64 at almost 9 minutes. That is very, very, very late.
And I'm still sitting on 4 gates at basically 9 minutes.
Yeah, it's because you're gone into every tech path. You've already gone for a fleet beacon. You went double Stargate. You went for a Robo. You got a Dark Shrine. The only thing you don't have is a Robo Bay for Colossus and shit. But I'm already maxed out. I'm doubling your supply basically right now.
Yeah. Well, ViBE, what's wrong with the buffet build?
Yeah, man. A little of everything.
Jesus.
Have all you want.
This is so gross.
All you can eat adepts. And yeah, now my timing too is having a point where my I don't even have Hydra speed. I didn't even make that upgrade. I didn't realize that. I was like, why are my Hydras so fucking slow? Oh my god.
Don't worry about it. You don't need it.
No, it's exactly. It's that's a blunder right there. That means my Hydras they're gonna concave out like shit, but it doesn't matter if you have 80 less army supply than I do. Where it's just like.
And again, the bad habit of spraying the person in the face with basically warping in shit.
Yeah, it's not the greatest, but that's definitely your minor problem right now. That's definitely not with the big one.
Yeah, that's not why I'm losing.
And now I'm just staying maxed over and over and over, and your supply is just dipping and dipping and dipping.
And now I'm losing a base too.
And this is the fundamental macro aspect again, where I have 1,000 minerals and 1,500 gas, but I can't spend it because I'm maxed out. You have 2,400 minerals and 175 gas. You can spend it, but you aren't because you don't have enough shit to spend it on. Like you don't have enough gates. Like you haven't set yourself up with like it's again the build is just it's paced poorly, and now at this point, the difficulty level for you went from like if we're talking like 10 out of 10 is like as hard as it could be. Before I attacked you, your difficulty level was like a 1 out of 10 because I did nothing to you. You did it to yourself essentially by trying to be aggressive. But now that I'm attacking you, it suddenly goes to a straight up 10 out of 10. It is now going to be so fucking hard to macro while I'm doing this to you. Like if you're not prepared for it already. Because now it's not just make units, make units, make units. And if it was that, if you already had this setup ready, I would say the difficulty now while I attacked you would be now like a 3 or a 4 out of 10. Because it's still going to be hard to deal with it, but you have the means to do it. But right now, the fact that you don't have the means to do it, and you still have to deal with it as well, it's so hard to deal with it now because you still have to go back to your base and build gates, organize that shit, build more stuff, make sure you don't supply block while your base dies, you know, stuff like that. Like it's just going to be way harder. And you're also meanwhile, you're trying to maintain probes not dying all over the place, Nexus is not dying all over the place, and it's just ridiculously annoying for you at this point.
And I mean, you're not even doing Ling run bys.
Yeah, I'm doing nothing.
It's just straight Hydras.
You're doing it to yourself. You're fucking yourself over. Until this point.
That was dumb. I shouldn't have backed up.
It doesn't even matter. Like you're trying to fight a third
know.
supplier with fucking like 5 stalkers.
I know. Like, oh, I missed that match that I flicked inside of a giant forest fire. I shouldn't have flicked that match.
Yeah.
Well, there's a fire around you. It really doesn't matter.
Exactly. And like this one carrier, this is another thing that's going to put you in a hole where it's like, this is way too early. It's way too expensive, which is going to furthermore say you're always going to die to an efficient Hydra timing.
Yeah.
The core concept of this lesson, which is probably the title I'm going to use for it, is efficiency. You completely missed the ball on efficiency. And there's efficiency when it comes to macro, when it comes to actually just macroing. There's also efficiency when it comes to being harassing and being aggressive. And you were not, this was not efficient harass. Which puts you into a hole.
And I kept going back and forth, and I accidentally made an Oracle. That was an accident, by the way.
That did,
but I still didn't even do jack shit with it. I should have at least, the very least, try used it for scouting.
So, what we talked about with like the general idea of how I told you build how it should go. Do you remember what I said? Or do you want me to say it again?
Basically, go get exact order probably would be pylon, pylon, assimilator, gate.
No, already
Nexus. Wrong. Oh.
Pylon. So I wasn't even talking about that. I was talking about your unit.
Oh, okay.
But your build order is also wrong. We'll talk about that in a second.
Okay.
I was talking more about your the way the cycles of how you harass, like the stages of your build, like adept harass into
two adepts across. Then go with the Twilight, and then get this Dark Shire and the Dark Shrine and the Robo same time.
No. Sorry, that was wrong again.
Okay.
Let me tell you, and then just listen to this.
No, I like that. Go ahead.
So you like your prism's going to be incredibly late if you do that. So this is the way you should go. Okay, I'll give you the initial Nexus setup. And you should just do this every time, okay? Really do this. Because the way I saw you use your adepts, do not be the guy who goes, I'm going to sacrifice my Nexus to go for adept harass. Because that was not adept harass. That was like, your adept just like sat there. And you can still do it. You can still harass with the adepts like 4 or 5 seconds later. But just prioritize your Nexus. So that you can actually have a Nexus.
Okay.
And like you can make probes, which is easy as fuck. You just hit D. Or E for probe, whatever the hotkey is for you. And you have probes and you're good to go. But here's the build order, okay? Build order for the first up to your natural situation. Pylon, gate, gas, Nexus, core, gas, pylon. Okay? And then
Got it.
tech path after that goes like this: council, robo, shortly, like similarly timed. Like you make council and then you make a robo after the council. Do not make it like before, but you
Yes.
prioritize council first, and then when you have a little bit of money free up again, make the robo, and then you make the dark shrine.
Okay. Yep. No, that's how I used to do it, and I'm
And then
forgetting that until you say it right now.
What's
Yeah.
what's going to
Because of the
happen?
timing.
What's going to happen is your robo is going to be able to build a warp prism as your dark shrine is still under construction, but it's getting closer to being done. The dark shrine should be
And
finishing roughly as your prism is already flying towards my base. Your dark
Yep.
shrine finishes, and then you can prism it, dark warp and DTs, load it up, go into the main. You should be hitting the main base right around 5 minutes with that, with this build.
Yep.
Then, so that's your overall build order. From there, you go into like Stalker Immortal, like beta GM style, because that's basically when your harass is going to kind of be over. Do not harass the entire game with DTs. Stop harassing with DTs after that. Just use DTs as a countermeasure if your opponent does a counter all in and he doesn't have detection, or if let's say he only has like one overseer and you can snipe it with Stalkers, then just warp in DTs. Use it as like a defensive measure at that point. Do not add them in again, like anymore.
Got it. Got it. Yeah.
Then, after you make a high supply of Stalker Immortal, you then, we're talking like 150 supply, start a Stargate. Just one. Don't go two. Just make one. And when the Stargate's done, you then make Fleet Beacon and add on more Stargates with the Fleet Beacon, because there's no point to make a bunch of Stargates that will all sit there doing nothing if you're not even maxed yet. Does that make sense?
Yeah, painfully so. Yeah.
Because you can't even make a carrier out of the Stargates. So you're just wasting your gas earlier than you need to.
I just basically threw away 150 gas that could have been potentially another Immortal, right?
Yeah, that's one Immortal and one Stalker, or 3 Stalkers.
Oh.
And that's a lot. If you do that a lot, shit like that, that's inefficient. It increases the chances you're going to die to an all-in, or like a not an all-in, but like a maxed out Zerg.
Someone who's playing efficiently is going to roll you.
Exactly. Efficiency beats non-efficiency. It doesn't matter how it doesn't, like the gameplay of going like greedy, aggressive beats greed beats safe beats aggressive. These are actual things like rock paper scissors. They are true, but it doesn't matter though if it's inefficient. It'd be like saying like imagine like rock paper scissors. Okay, imagine the game of rock paper scissors where that's all the form of it. Like that is what the like your fist when you're like rock. That's fucking efficient. But what if you just lifted your pinky and you're like, that's a pebble. That's my rock. And it's like, well, that actually doesn't beat scissors anymore. Like, it doesn't do anything. It's fucking nothing. It's not actually rock anymore. It's not actually what it's supposed to be. It's not an efficient form of what it is. So,
that totally explains why I'm basically starting to have harder and harder games and I'm losing more than I used to. Is basically people aren't panicking as I've gotten higher, and so they're being efficient, and my inefficiencies are becoming more and more glaring.
Exactly.
Damn.
Exactly. Like it's efficiency beats non-efficiency. That is the ultimate truth of StarCraft. And once you can both play efficient, then you have actual rock paper scissors situations.
God, dog, man. No, it's crazy. And you know what? You'd think I would have learned the lesson the first time that you played me, when somebody was like, your beta GM style doesn't work with someone giving sheer aggression. And then that's the first introduction of Walter, where I was doing the DT drops and you were just doing the platinum build. And I was almost maxed out on carriers, and you came across with Thors that were fully upgraded. My carriers were not even upgraded, and you just plowed right through everything I had. And you had shown me no aggression.
Yeah.
It's crazy. God.
It's
I got to learn this lesson about 4 more times, I think.
Yeah, no, probably because you're obsessed with micro. It's because the way your brain works, and there's a lot of people like you, by the way. The way your brain approaches StarCraft is every situation you look at, you go, how can I micro out of that? How can I use those units? How can I micro this? And that's not how you should look at it. You should look at it as, how can I spend my time the most efficient? And micro is part of that, but it's minor. It's not supposed to be the major thing you do.
And I'll tell you, what probably is bad too is I like doing the 2v2s, and if one person's going defense and I can go aggression, I can kind of get away with microing more, and then I'm realizing that now is bleeding into my 1v1s where I need to be able to do both. And I just can't.
Yeah.
I can't yet.
Well,
Ugh,
I stick to it. Stick to the plan, man, and you'll see
will do.
improvement. And yeah, I mean, just listen to what I said again for the sequential things, and just really respect the fact that if you're going for a timing, if you're going for a DT timing, for instance, core timing after the Nexus is nice. Council is quick right after. Dark Shrine, DT Shrine is really quick right after. DTs get made right after. You do not want to waste time. This applies to every type of timing. So the same thing can be said about your first 2 adepts. If you're going to make 2 adepts to go attack me, you don't just let them sit there. You also, like in your base, for instance, defensively, and you also don't let them sit there outside of my creep defensively, like out, but trying to deny creep. Like, you need to do something more than that.
If you're going to be aggressive, commit to aggression. Don't back off. Otherwise, you're basically playing inefficient. Because
you might as well have just
built
like you might as well just have been greedy yourself and just played a defensive style with stalkers.
Yeah. Ah, thank you.
Yeah, man. Good luck, dude. Good luck.
Thanks.
And
You'll see another replay probably soon. Hopefully one that just shows straight up macro and efficiencies, and we'll see if I'm making mistakes still, but because I got a lot to fix here.
Sure.
Thanks.
No worries, man.
Thanks,
Thank you for doing
appreciate
thanks for doing a lesson, and good luck, man.
Thanks.
All right. See you later, dude.
See ya.
All right, guys. That has been a coaching lesson with Mr. Sir Gamermore and myself. Thank you guys for watching. Until next time, guys. Until next time. Good luck to you. And I'll see you. Go watch more videos if you want to learn more. I'll see you guys later. Peace, guys. Goodbye.